Xi Jinping, a biography, written by Zhong Wen. Chapter 13 The Suppression of Xinjiang. Since Xi Jinping came to power in 2013, his hardline crackdown on Uyghurs in Xinjiang escalated, and so Uyghurs resisted with the violent attack at Kunming railway station on March 1, 2014, in which 31 Uyghurs were hacked to death, shocking the nation. Following the incident, Xi Jinping visited Xinjiang from April 27 to 30 and deployed a tougher crackdown, calling for a comprehensive push to fight against terror, infiltration and division, and to show no mercy, and arrest everyone who should be arrested. No one should be spared. On the last day of Xi's visit, another violent attack took place at the Urumqi train station. After Xi's departure, another terrorist incident occurred at the Urumqi Park North Street Morning Market on May 22 and another terrorist attack in Sha County, Xinjiang, on July 28. The spate of violent protests shows that the more pressure on Xi Jinping's town, the greater the resistance. In August 2016, Xi Jinping transferred his close associate Chen Guoduo to be the king of Xinjiang, and Chen Guoduo increased repressive measures across the board, including the widespread establishment of re-education camps throughout Xinjiang. The so-called re-education camps are detention camps where the CCP forces extrajudicial detention. People there lose personal freedom, are put into forced labor, are forced to ideological reform, are denied freedom of religion, and have physical abuse and punishment. After Chen Quanguo arrived in Xinjiang, more than 30,000 police officers were added, 7,300 security checkpoints were set up throughout Xinjiang, and tens of thousands of convenient police stations were set up in the streets and alleys of all counties. There were 949 in Urumqi alone, with 90,000 co-police officers at these stations to deal specifically with Uyghurs. The number of people jumped 7 times more than in 2016. In total, Xinjiang accounts for 1.5% of the country's population, but the number of people detained in Xinjiang in 2017 accounted for 21% of the country's total detentions. How many re-education camps are there in Xinjiang? In April 2018, Radio Free Asia interviewed at least 8 re-education camps in Yeqing County, Kashgar, and May 2018 Jamestown Foundation releases solicitation information for 73 re-education camps in Xinjiang. In May 2019, Canadian scholar Zhang Xiao of Columbia University used government information and Earth imagery records to document 66 re-education camp locations. In September 2020, the Australian International Network Centre had a database of concentration camps using satellite technology to show that there were more than 380 suspected camps in the Xinjiang region, with at least 61 re-education camps, were in fact internment camps with armed guards at the gates, high walls, iron fences and watchtowers, and were not freely accessible. How many people have been detained in Xinjiang's re-education camps? The Chinese Communist Party never announces. But on August 10, 2018, the UN Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination has stated that it has credible information that the Chinese Communist Party is secretly imprisoning 1 million Uyghurs in Xinjiang, and that another 2 million are being forced into re-education camps. The U.S. State Department's International Religious Freedom Report has stated in 2019 the U.S. estimates that Xinjiang re-education camps hold more than 1 million members of the Uyghur, Kazakh, Hui and other Muslims, as well as some Uyghur Christians. In 2019, a German anthropologist Adrian Zengens estimated that the people in re-education camps could be as high as 1.5 million people. On September 13, 2018, Radio Free Asia reported that Xinjiang Normal University President Azadi Sultan, Xinjiang University Professor Rayla Dudi, Professor Abdul Karim Rayman, Professor Arslan Abdullah and Professor Gaidi Osman were sent to re-education camps located at Xinjiang University. In January 2019, the New York Times reported that more than 100 Uyghur scholars, professors, university presidents, writers and poets had not been heard since their detention and imprisonment in late 2017, according to a list assembled by Xinjiang exiles. Among them was the well-known anthropologist Rayla Dudi, who was studying Islamic sacred sites, folklore, and folk songs. The June 2019 Uyghur Human Rights Report counted at least 386 Uyghur intellectuals were detained and missing. Among them was the writer Nur Muhammad Todi, who was reportedly dead. The Communist Party of China, CCP, has implemented cultural cleansing in its re-education camps by destroying ethnic and religious beliefs, forcing detainees to sing red songs, eat pork and drink alcohol. They thank President Xi for their meals and chant "Long live President Xi" before eating. On February 3, 2018, the BBC reported that Abdurrahman Aishan, a businessman from Kashgar whose mother was a 68-year-old retired teacher and wife with 2 children, was put into a re-education camp in Shufan County Kashgar region at the end of July 2017. The punishment for disobedience was to put the guilty one on a wooden bench and was made to fast from morning to night. The businessman said, "I would rather love my wife and mother to be shot than have them abused to death by the Chinese Communist government." On May 15, 2018, Radio Free Asia interviewed a police officer by phone at a police station in Hotan district and asked him about the living conditions in the concentration camp. The police officer replied that 70 people were living in a room of 50 to 70 square meters, sleeping on double bunk beds with wooden planks. In May 2019, Sonli News reported that a Kazakh journalist infiltrated into Xinjiang for a secret interview and learned that in the camps, husband and wife lived separately and could only see each other only once after a few months. Before meeting, they had to take birth control pills. Special drugs were added to the food so that men's genitals could not get an erection and the women stopped menstruating. Those who were pregnant when they entered the camps were forced to abort. In August 2019, Xinjiang fugitively Xin, Han Chinese, reported that Han Chinese detainees were treated similarly. Her family was held in a cell of less than 10 square meters with ethnic minorities. The cell was windowless, monitored by 3 cameras 24 hours a day. She was not allowed to speak. She was subjected to daily thought reform. If she spoke or if someone reported, she was sent to a corporal punishment room. Some were hung, handcuffed and hung from a height and were beaten up with whips. Others were electrocuted, being made to sit on a tiger stool and forced to confess. On August 5, 2020, the BBC reported that a man from Xinjiang, Maidan Aba, was imprisoned who later on described in a WeChat message his experience of spending 18 days in a police station with more than 50 people handcuffed and hooded. On February 3, 2021, the BBC reported that many women in Xinjiang's re-education camps were raped, sexually abused and tortured, and some were forced to undergo sterilization. Some media reported that hundreds of people had died in 6 months in camps in the Aksu region, as well as rumored that the mother of prominent religious figure Muhammad Salah al-Hajj and World Uyghur Congress President Dorkan Aisha, Ayhan al-Bayati, had died. After completing trials of detainees in Xinjiang's re-education camps, some were sent in batches to the mainland for further re-education. On September 29, 2018, Radio Free Asia interviewed staff of the Heilongjiang, Tailai County CPPCC, who confirmed that a group of people had been transferred from Xinjiang to Tailai prison more than 20 days ago. On October 1, 2018, Radio Free Asia reported that a large number of Uyghur detainees were transferred from southern Xinjiang to the northern border and that detainees from the northern border were transferred to Gansu and other places. All of them were more than 200,000 people. Rahima Senai, who had been detained since 2017, said, "You go into the camp saying you have 1,000 points, and the points are reduced for violations, even for yawning or smiling, and once it's reduced to 500 points, you have to be detained for another year." In November 2019, the New York Times disclosed a total of 24 copies of 703 pages of classified documents brought out by traitorous officials in Xinjiang, revealing that the Chinese Communist Party had begun planning the repression and persecution of Uyghurs and other ethnic minorities in 2016, and the measures listed were broadly consistent with reports leaked over the years, indicating that the Chinese Communist Party concentration camps were indeed cruel. One female detainee said, "We were only allowed to go to the toilet for 10 minutes every day. We were not allowed to waste water washing our hands, we could only shower for 2 minutes a month with cold water, and we slept on the floor with concrete walls on all sides." The International Consortium of Investigative Journalists also verified the authenticity of the 703 pages of documents with the participation of 75 journalists and partner organizations from 14 countries. It has been confirmed that at least 350,000 people have been arrested and prosecuted, and more than 1 million people have been sent to re-education camps in extrajudicial detention since Chen's 2016 reign in Xinjiang. The Xinjiang's leaked document mentions that Wang Yongji, secretary of the County Party Committee of Shandong County, Kashgar Region, was dismissed from his post. Wang Yongji was in charge of building detention camps in Shandong County, detaining more than 20,000 people. He released 7,000 people in defiance of the party's harsh policy and was punished by the Chinese Communist Party for corruption. Another secretary of the Akita County Party Committee, Gu Wensheng, was also dismissed from his post for failing to faithfully implement party policies. All these suggest that there are officials within the CCP who have the conscience to resist the party's iron-fisted persecution. In September 2020, the U.S. Department of State and the Treasury Department announced sanctions against 4 high-ranking Communist Party officials: Chen Guanghua, Secretary of the Xinjiang Wang Party Committee; Zhu Haicang, Secretary of the Political and Legal Committee; Wang Mingshan, Vice Chairman of the Xinjiang Government and Director of the Public Security Bureau; and Huo Lujun, Secretary of the Party Committee of the Public Security Bureau. All assets of the sanctioned individuals in the United States were frozen, and all sectors were prohibited from trading goods or services with the sanctioned individuals. The State Department also announced that visa restrictions had been imposed on 4 of the sanctioned individuals and that their immediate family members would not be allowed to enter the United States. On January 14, 2021, the U.S. announced sanctions against Xinjiang cotton and tomato products on the grounds of forced labor, refusing to import those products into the U.S. Further, the European Union followed the U.S. and also announced sanctions, causing the Chinese Communist Party authorities to become very upset and launch a party media campaign.